welcome everyone to our second Ignite session, Ignite recap session for 2024. A few days ago, we've been able to handle the in-person session. We tried to stream live. However, we had some challenges for which we apologize. And that's the reason why we have second session where we will record and upload after that. The main benefit of the second session is that this time we have one of our guests, Yordan Dimov, here. Unfortunately, Fadi is sick and would not be able to join, but really appreciate your time, and thanks to everybody who've been able to come in person in the office. We encourage you to come next time. The experience is great. And yeah, so let's get started.
So we don't have to stream these sessions anymore. Hi, everyone. I think it's good to start with this slide. It's sort of a recap of some of the bigger companies that use Azure AI at this point. And this is one of the things that we noticed on Ignite this year, that a lot more companies have been brought in, a lot more experience from customers was highlighted on over the number of sessions. And just to give you an understanding how big Ignite is, I think we had close to 900 sessions this year, spread into 3 or 4 days. And previously on Friday, we used to have very little to no attendance, and even Friday was packed full until noon. So it was a big event. It reminds us back from the 2019 era and before, how big these events were. So,
And important to mention is that last year there were just 5,000 people, and this time in Chicago there were 3 times more, so 15,000, which is, let's say, positive trends. Another important thing to mention here, maybe I can move to the next slide, is that even when we spoke with some of our Microsoft friends, they mentioned that they also feel that this time Ignite was much more impactful. Of course, as you can imagine, it was like 70-80% about the AI. Everything was around the AI. But what we discussed with our friends, colleagues, and clients is that right now the AI become much more mature. There were time needed comparing to the last year Ignite for the majority of Microsoft services to become more production ready, more stable, more feature rich, and that's why we were extremely happy to be part of this community in person this time.
yep. These numbers kind of speak for themselves. Most of the organizations already started to adopt AI. We have a number of slides to over the next hour that will showcase how mature the service actually is compared to the last 2 years. And all of us have tracked down the progress of enterprise AI since in its inception, how immature it was to compare to how much value you can extract from it right now. So you can see 95% of the organizations applying to are already adopting AI, and more than half are at least thinking about it. So,
Yeah.
and for that matter, most of the Fortune 500 companies, I would say all of them, have a plan or executing a plan to adopt AI, which is great because that really pushes the vendors to be more competitive and new services to show up quicker. So, the
Yeah.
bigger the company, the better the motivation for the vendors themselves.
Indeed, we have some studies which are not included in the slides, but right now, for every invested dollar, usually the organization receive like $3.6 in return, so like 360% efficiency, of course, if the adoption is done right. Nikki mentioned important thing. Please let us know if you ever heard Fortune 500 company which is not using AI in the moment. Drop us in a comment. It will be really interested see that, because in our point of view, there is no use case where the AI can help at the moment, which is one of the major differentiator, as we discussed multiple times, compared with the cloud, let's say that way. All right. So
yeah, if we focus on more on the Azure OpenAI side, which is the main service that ignites the AI from the Microsoft side, of course, which enables organizations to use the foundational models and pretty much to kickstart any Gen AI strategy. You can see even in the last couple of months how vertical the progress is in terms of adopting, how many tokens are being burned through. And we don't have a graph. I mean, we get this from the official Microsoft presentations, but we don't have a graph to show you how much this was last year compared to this year. And this would only get bigger by the minute. Inference is getting cheaper, so that, and also if your competitors are, you already started using AI, you have pretty much no choice to jump on board. And I think this is the case also for the other vendors who are offering cloud services like AWS, Bedrock, and GCP. They're seeing a lot more requests, and just people are just enabling services like crazy.
Indeed. It's as you see, actually, we are talking about 3 months, because the major shift started like the end of July, early of August. So really, like 3-4 months for these huge differences in the consumption. Of course, the cheaper model really helped with that. The model improvements really allow this to be possible, because in the past there were a lot of companies which started adopted AI, but unfortunately, let's say GPT-4 was a bit expensive for a lot of major use cases, and at the same time, GPT 3.5 was not that good in order to deliver the appropriate results. But right now, with the model improvements, the model efficiency, where we have every kind of size and price model. Actually, we that's graphic perfectly makes sense and shows where
Yeah,
we're
and
going.
let's not forget one very important piece is there's a lot more expertise that has been built
Yeah.
in the last year or so. A lot more people are getting into AI. You have much more consulting companies who offer these services. So now, if you're a Fortune 500 organization, you have an option to bring different partners to get you started with, leveraging Azure.
Yeah. Also, and the actual leaders in these companies, I think that they needed some time in order this idea, let's say, to become a little bit more mature, more stable. It takes some time in order this idea to grow in them. And actually, now, as we discussed, you don't have to, encourage right now, or make sure helping the people to believe in the AI, which was pretty hard last year, to be honest. I can't imagine what was even before that. But yeah, now it's much easier.
And
And
guys,
yeah.
did you attend it on a session where Microsoft is presenting how, yeah, of course, the adoption of AI is increasing, but also how much they invest to decrease the consumption of energy, because that will make a big difference, and how much they're investing in the re-architecturing their data centers, decoupling the cooling from the rack, the entire server architecture, all those offloads which will be delegated to Azure Boost, and how they're increasing the performance and the productivity of the hardware, probably with more than 30 to 70%, and at the same time they're reducing the energy consumption, which again I think it will be key. I don't remember the exact numbers, but they were very impressive how they decreased the consumption of energy.
You brought very good point. And indeed, there were multiple sessions regarding their next generation data centers, and especially around actually, they were around everything, as you said, the actual design, the cooling. We've been able, I think we have some picture in the end where we've been able actually to picture the cooling system. It was like in one booth with the Azure hardware where you
Yeah.
can see all of these. They were also the servers and of course some I guess some high level design, but they were physical metal pieces of equipment there which you can touch.
Mm.
Unfortunately, they gave only badges. We weren't able to take any of these chips or anything.
Yeah.
I think
uh,
they made on the last Ignite, they announced that they're going to be spending as much as 50 billion just for data centers in the next few years. And now I think that we are seeing the fruits of that labor, specialized chips. NVIDIA has really brought a lot to the table in their expertise in the graphics. I mean, the specialized AI chips that are powering not only Microsoft's data centers, but we saw Tesla has bought a bunch.
yeah,
All
Meta.
of the AI companies are trying to maximize the investment. And I think on the energy, you reminded me that I think on was it on the keynote, on maybe on Mark's session, he said that they are also reigniting the use of nuclear energy. They're
Yeah.
purchasing small to medium reactors that are going to be placed inside of the data centers, and they're going to be using that to power these huge demands that they have.
Mm.
I think we discussed about the Microsoft move to purchase one of the oldest nuclear power plant in the States. I forgot the actual name, but and they secured 20 years of exclusive consumption of the energy there. Yeah, indeed, we were in one of the Mark session, which was not recorded. It was he talked a lot about the energy. He talks about the investment of these modular reactors that Nikki mentioned, and also he mentioned about the nuclear fusion. He's
Mhm.
I mean, it was mind-blowing session. We can discuss for hours about the expertise that Mark can bring in multiple domains. Um, Here in this diagram, as we can see, there is we can see that a lot of the there's organization start to use multiple models for their workloads. And as you see, instead of because in the past, actually there were not much models available, but right now Microsoft investing heavily in the open source. And one important thing that I forgot to mention, and you'll see later, is actually Microsoft, I think, is the biggest AMD hardware consumer. They bet big on AMD on both chips, like CPUs, the new Epic platform, also on the new graphics. We'll have separate site about this. But yeah, and as we see here, organizations start using not only OpenAI models, closed source models, but also the open source models. Where, by the way, it sounds strange. Closed source model, OpenAI, and open source models. Nonsense. Okay. All right. So yeah, and as you see, there is a 0% company which are using just one model, and as we see, between 3 and 5 is the majority of the usage in nowadays. Again, bigger model for more complex tasks, more model for more suitable tasks, more faster and less expensive. Biggest
Okay.
announcement?
Yeah. So Azure AI Foundry, we we found about this service on Ignite. I mean, they kept this under wraps until the actual event. And this is just the next iteration, the next generation of what was before Azure OpenAI Studio. And I think with each version of this interface, they add new functionality. Remember, we had the Azure OpenAI Studio, its functions kind of morphed into the Azure AI Studio. Now Azure AI Studio kind of got integrated into this new tool they call Foundry, but it's now really focused on the agentic approach to providing, AI capacity and just working with data, and also a lot more integrations that we didn't have before. And last but not least, monitoring observability and evaluations. I think on one of the sessions, somebody asked one of the kind of the key speakers, what is the biggest announcement on Ignite? And he said the evaluation SDK for AI Foundry, because it allows you to do things that are so important in the integration of AI services we couldn't do before in with the Microsoft stack. And if you take a look, we are seeing familiar services, but we're also seeing new things that have been added. There's a lot more focus on the open source, and although open source was already integrated into Azure AI, now it's much more visible, and they're mentioning and they're actually putting up front things like AutoGen and semantic kernel, which are powering a lot of the agentic capabilities. We're going to talk about what was announced inside of Foundry, which was one of the key announcements on Ignite, for us at least. And being able to ingest data from different data sources and allowing integrations with SharePoint, something that is, by their own words, is the number one most requested feature out there. Being able to get your data from SharePoint into AI and figure out some insights, or just use it more naturally compared to what we had to do up to this point. And also being able to execute on things. As you can see, the integration services in Azure have been added directly, like functions and logic apps, and others that are they're going to be allowing AI to execute on our behalf, not just build RAG applications and chat apps.
Yeah, for logic apps, it's quite interesting also in security domain how you can have now Copilot and AI activities within the workflow. So you can respond to security threats, and you can instruct with prompt engineering the Copilot what to do instead of writing complex scripts. Complex. Instead of writing and spending time to write scripts, you just write to Copilot instructions, and then Copilot is taking all the way work that will be required to respond to a threat and incident.
Yes, some of you already know, but logic apps are one of my favorite services. Been using them a lot, as you said, Dancho, for security, alerting, monitoring. This native integration, built-in integration with, I would say, almost every service, which Azure service, and not Azure, Microsoft service is more important one. It's make them really, really, really powerful. And indeed, we had one of the sessions. There were discussion around how the people from the SOCs using Security Copilot can, when incident happen, they can have every available information across the entire Microsoft stack, all the services in, he said, like a few minutes, comparing with several hours. Of grabbing from here, from there, thanks to exactly this logic
and they're
apps
giving all the context that you might require to take decisions. So that's the main thing. That if a human have to collect all that information and to process it and then to take a decision based on that, I mean, it's taking days probably for simple things when the context will come in seconds. And they were presenting also the same thing for developers, where developers in Microsoft do development only for 30% of their day, and the rest is just planning and exploring different kind of solutions and so on and so on. And now with Copilot, they were explaining how faster they can move and how they increase the productivity. And yeah, logic apps might be your favorite services. I find them very ugly, probably because you didn't manage them as a code. But now, yeah, with AI, probably it will be much simpler to manage them.
I'm sorry to have you for this specific conversation, but you know that now you can run PowerShell scripts in Logic apps, which I know is the favorite things for every infrastructure as a code DevOps guy. But indeed, having the PowerShell scripts in Logic apps is also making things much efficient. I mean, you can do a lot of things. All right, as you see on top of this, on the top right, we have also some of the open source frameworks, and maybe you notice there's some really popular agentic frameworks, and not only, you know that we are a big fan of AutoGen. As Nikki mentioned, everything was around copilots and agents. I think maybe if we have evaluation of the words, the first place would be copilot and second agents. So here you can see some, let's say, like a diagram video how we can use the agents. Important thing here is that when we hear agents, as you know, we've been using a lot agentic frameworks since the beginning, starting with AutoGPT, Baby AGI. However, in let's say the majority of the use cases, Microsoft does not mean agentic frameworks, but they mean the OpenAI assistant API. So actually, you have agent which is specific for the specific job which you can use, as you see on the demo, and yep, there is some diagram about the Azure AI agent services here, as we see, with the main benefits coming from Microsoft, which are all of these ecosystem, well-integrated ecosystem with data sources, triggers, integrations here, and yeah. And we have also all the tools about to R&D these tools, these services in one place.
Yeah, it's a big deal that they moved forward with something like this. It was because a lot of the enterprises are struggling to implement agents the right way, and wrapping them up with best practices, reusing the Assistance API semantic kernel on the back end, and allowing you to talk to your already created data somewhere in SQL, or you're already using Azure AI Search, or if you're just starting up with Fabric, makes it a non-brainer just to pick this up. And since this is also an API, essentially, you can directly integrate anything legacy. You just make a call somewhere. This will get your data, summarize the information, get it back, or execute on your behalf. So I expect this to become very big. Probably by next Ignite, it will be multi-agent, I would think. And it really depends on how Microsoft will implement this on the enterprise level. We are eagerly waiting for us to get approved. To actually, there's currently a private preview, and one of the program managers told us that there's a lot of interest in this one. Companies are piling up to get first access to test this out. So as soon as we get more information on how it works, how scalable it is, because that's an important piece as well. We'll probably do a sort of a follow-up specifically on the agent service, because this is really the first time we're seeing at least Microsoft or one of the big clouds to actually start pushing out an agentic service as an API.
Yeah, it's indeed. It's again in this kind of it's become at the end more and more production ready. It requires some times, And yeah, as you see in this diagram, it's combining this with this crazy, well-integrated ecosystem in terms of enterprise security, data connectivity with all the services that we discussed. Uh, Tons of models, closed source, open source, that you can use. I think you can't use only okay, the main models that you can use are the Anthropic and Google closed source models, but everything else you can use it and you can combine it. And of course, this focus, investment, dedication of Microsoft to make everything easier to be used, easier to adopt. As Nikki mentioned in the beginning about the SDKs, you see throughout the presentation that they made sure when they announce some services, at the same time they already prepared the SDK in order to make this service to be able to be used pretty easily and quickly from developers. So yeah, big times coming for the agents. So I think this should be like yeah, interactive. This is a use case of the onboarding of a new employee, which we took from the Ignite sessions. You can see that thanks to the agents, there's a lot of work which is already automated and augmented from the helping the multiple different teams to let's say have seamless onboarding of the members. There are some approvals, of course, can be configured as you see here, and so we can let's say compare this to let's say to the gates. So of course, all of these can be configured in one way or another, and this is indeed just one use case which we can see the agent in actions doing a little bit more complex tasks, which is requiring multiple inputs, multiple teams to take care of. Again, talking for the security, it's one of the main benefit of using the cloud vendors is actually that they have a lot of the work done for you, and you can leverage to their huge investment in all of these, let's say, security, traceability, observability, auditability. And with this all huge improvement in terms of tracing and monitoring the AI, the content filters, that we have, for those of you who've been using the Azure AI services content filters, I think for less than a year, we already have two default versions. We have a lot of improvement in terms of securing your AI workloads, in terms of prompt injection, jailbreaks. This is something which developed almost daily. And of course, you have the ability to bring your own storage there, your own index, and yeah, the as security is important thing for everything related to AI, because this is a pretty, how to say, compared to the other topics, is something which is still new. People are afraid of it, don't understand it well, and usually, as we discussed, the Fortune 500 organization, they have a lot of compliance standard regulations that they need to comply with. One of the very first questions that we usually see when we're talking with these clients is how we can be sure that these models are safe. We'll discuss a little bit more in the next slides.
Yeah, I think that's something that we already mentioned, but they put a lot of emphasis on the integrations and being able to ground your data with specific data sources like Fabric and even Bing search. As you see, most of the chat apps now, they're trying to take a chunk of Google search's pie, being able to search more easily into the internet and summarizing this information with AI models. So a lot of these integrations have shown up time and time. for us, SharePoint and for Microsoft was one of the highlights for sure, and the Azure AI search as well. And if we take a look at the kind of the full package, it's important also to mention that you can bring your own, well, not your own, but you can bring some of the non-OpenAI models to the table. For whatever reason, if you want to use Mistral or Llama, you can use that as directly from the Azure OpenAI, the Azure AI model as a service or serverless deployments. And on the action side, apart from logic apps and functions, if you want to go beyond Azure as well, you have the ability to invoke OpenAPI spec APIs, which basically allows you to integrate with almost anything. I mean, as long as there's a sort of a regular endpoint, REST endpoint, you can call it out directly from Foundry, and just pretty simple to integrate your service with this. And some of the familiar things like file search, call interpreter that it's directly comes from the Assistance API functionality that's core to Foundry as well. And this slide just again restates what we've talked about so far. Foundry is basically creating managed agents for you, which can be deployed and execute on your behalf. While when we're talking about multi-agent systems, multiple times the Microsoft engineering teams told us that AutoGen for them is still more of a research project, something that brings the innovation into their work in AI, while things like semantic kernel are the services they recommend and implementing on their end for customers. We really like AutoGen. AutoGen has seen a dramatic change lately with it's code, and it has been pretty much forked into two different versions now, but that does not give it the innovation is still there. The Microsoft Research Organization is still actively working on it. So we're going to see more of AutoGen, and we'll continue using it on our project as well, because it's one of the core and most functional multi-agent frameworks out there.
And this was our, let's say, framework to go for multiple large-scale production deployments, which we've done last year. So let's say with a little bit more effort, even this framework, which let's say a lot of organization may use for ideation, we can say that we can confirm that it can be used for production with the appropriate knowledge and effort. Here we had a pretty interesting demo from one of the from Cognizant, which is I think one of the biggest consulting company. Actually, they showed some very interesting stuff and use cases with their agentic platform. Their beliefs is that actually the models are just generating prediction based on the inputs, and agent are used to do things using these models, which is perfectly very well defined, we'll say. They showed that how they automated their entire internal portal. I'm sure that the majority of you who've working in large organization have these portals. So imagine that this can be replaced with just a single, as you see here, we have search this site, let's say, just one field where you put what you need. I saw a lot of companies trying to move to that direction with different extent of success. But the important thing here is that behind the scene, you have agent which decided what to do, and let's say, what interaction from the other agents which are responsible for multiple tasks is needed. So as you see here in this picture, not sure why this is not playing. Yeah, you can see here when someone checking for I'm getting married. You see the interaction between the different teams, what are the benefits, what are the legal advices, etc. Are received as very, let's say, detailed information. This is just one of the use cases that we saw.
We really recommend this session. If you go and review some of the Ignite
Yeah.
sessions recordings, go and look up Cognizant's presentation. Especially, this was very well showed and highlighted by their CTO. He really understands AI very well. So kudos to Cognizant on this case. So AI reports in Foundry, we said that one of the goals with this service, this new version of the services that we used to use, is to incorporate more observability and monitoring. And I think Microsoft is actively listening to their customers, because what we had before was, okay, we can deploy models, we can integrate them into services, but when it comes to reviewing the information, what's happening with what kind of prompts are being used, any sort of insight was really limited. We have content filtering, but that's not really observability. We needed something that will go beyond this. And they announced a couple of new services, which this one was the first one directly integrated into Foundry. We also have things around Purview that really plug into the whole workflow. So it has been very welcome. We actually started looking into this. I think it showed up in one of our tenants for testing. So we'll report back on how much we can do with AI reports, but definitely an important change for Azure AI.
Yeah,
Yeah, go on. Sorry.
and yeah, this is just some screenshots from one of the sessions regarding the AI reports, which you can see, and as Nikki mentioned and I mentioned earlier, the importance of this observability, which right now helping again to streamline the adoption of all the AI services, having the full supporting portfolio of proper governance of everything, yeah, everything new. So as you see here, there is you can see the different capabilities reports.
Yeah, it's still minimal. I mean, we probably were going to require, and when we compare this to other specialized tools from Data IQ and Databricks, it's still lacking, but it's better than what we had, and this is out of the box. So
And the important thing here is that, you know, all large organization, cloud providers, each of the services, they are starting small in order to be able to gain as fast as possible feedback and to make the service as much as aligned with the client needs as possible. So it's pretty let's say we expect this to be the case with some starting small.
it kind of reminds me how the cost management portal looked like initially in Azure, in the first few years.
And both of you, I'm sure, remember how much complaints we saw about, let's say, why my consumption is so high. This was even, I don't know, last year, no, 2 years ago, I was in one of the round table, and I was shocked that, let's say, almost the other 8 people, all of them were complaining how they just start using Azure and their bill become ridiculously expensive. But yeah, it takes some time to become more mature for both the service and both the clients. That's they're connected. This is again, it's one of the other services which is helping with the adoption of the AI. In this specific example, there is one of the risk and safety evaluation features. Specifically, this one is for images. So we can as you see in the diagram, we can understand very easily with built-in services. We can understand the actual risk of these images, and again, this is we can measure the actual impact of this of what we can do with this specific mitigation. Co-pilots and SharePoints.
Co-pilots, yes.
And agents, we remember Copilot, agents.
Copilots was the other key buzzword everywhere. You can see Nikki's background.
No,
That's
Copilot
what
was the
everywhere.
first. Second is agents. Actually, Microsoft, I'm not sure that even Microsoft was first. I think Copilot is first and agents is second.
Copilot was everywhere. And when it comes to productivity, we have some background in this as well. It's this year they made the next step into integrating chatbots and agents into most of the productivity tools. And we're going to show a quick sort of a video to recap some of the agents, but in SharePoint specifically, this was highlighted because, like I said, SharePoint is a dumping ground for most organizations. You have petabytes of data usually laying around, and you need to make sense of it. And that's why they created a bunch of new agents that will help you discover some of that information. The first one was the integration in SharePoint. As you can see how simple it is, you point to a site, you create an agent, you go through the wizard, you define a couple of parameters, and there you go. You already have something to talk to, I'm sorry. And there were specific agents that were noted. This one is an agent integrated into Teams to help you with the notes taking. It's like an assistant.
It's the facilitator, I think.
Facilitator, yeah, I think that's the formal name. That will be integrated into Teams, so it will help you. The other one that we're seeing here is the agent that really we have for a long time, something that can actually interpret our messages when we're speaking foreign languages, or if we have someone who's not understanding English on the call, that's going to be really helpful. And I think Nikki really liked this one with the project management piece with someone who can actually help you with the alignment. We also have sort of a corporate ask, I guess, employee service. This is one of the main use cases when you start using AI. Can I create a chatbot that can answer employees' questions based on, what is my salary and, all sorts of admin tasks. So a lot of great things will come out of the box, and I think Microsoft just looking at the signals they get from different systems and the feedback, they're assessing, okay, what should we build next? Okay, this will be the most used agent next that we need to have, because they really want to get this burden out of people's hands, which is creating the custom software, integrating it, making it available. When you have something that you just click a button in Teams or in SharePoint, and that works without any hesitation, and it just talks to your data, this simple way will allow more people to use AI, definitely. So there is a lot of audience for these kind of services, and while we still are sort of proponents for custom AI software and open source, there is a place for co-pilots in the organization.
Especially, to be honest, I really love all of these new Teams announcement. I can say that they're one of my favorite co-pilots, especially the one with the ability to listen to, let's say, to have 5 people from multiple continents and everybody talking and listen in their own language is just mind-blowing. This integration, for example, the PM doing so much. You have direct integration with the Azure DevOps, for example. You have of course, you have integrations with the other major platform, but to have all the tasks created there, to this agent is maintaining the task, reminding the let's say the developer with the task, it can close tasks. So it really helps of different people to different roles to streamline their work. And main goal for Microsoft is just to start with some fundamental, let's say foundational examples in terms of these agents. But as Nikki mentioned, they also provide this ability for organizations to create their specific own co-pilots, which have this multiple integration. I would not be surprised to see third-party, let's say, agents that we can, let's say, integrate by or etc. in our organization. So this is really just the beginning of, let's say, seeing this beauty of the this very large ecosystem and to work ecosystem from Microsoft Cloud Services.
Yeah, this is just a cumulative slide for most of the announcement around Copilot Studio. And for the people who don't know what Copilot Studio is, it's basically one of the low-code tools that we have right now to build agents. And it's one of the last pillars that was missing for Microsoft's strategy to infiltrate the organizations and to force people into using AI. So we have Azure AI from the enterprise side, we have Copilots on the productivity side, and we have Copilot Studio on the sort of the low-code Power Platform citizen development side. So you can build your agents. And there were a lot of new integrations that have been shown. If we go to the next slide, I think we can there was a bunch of new things around SDKs that were announced, as well as the ability to create your own M365 agents, which can talk to teams, and really wherever you look, you have the ability to create something for you. I mean, the whole idea behind Copilot Studio is to create something for you or create something for your team or for your organization that people can use right away. And previously, this was called Power Virtual Agents. Now it has been rebranded with Copilot Studio for the last year, but it has been added so many new things. And now with the ability to actually invoke actions from these agents, being able to execute, that really makes a difference because just talking to your data is not enough anymore. I mean, there's so many ways to do it. There's cheaper alternatives for it. So Microsoft really needed to make the next step, which was to have these actionable agents um, presented to the org. And just a bunch of new updates that powering the service. GPT-4o expanded and better integration with SharePoint, better UX, multi-language support. I think that was missing, and we did recently did an event for Copilot in general, and one of the things that was preventing people, especially in Bulgaria, from using it was the inability for that to use and interpret Bulgarian, and that's already coming. So Microsoft is making incremental steps to make these services better, and I think the last missing step from all of this is just to make it cheaper and more attractive to buy, make it more competitive when it comes to the other clouds and especially open source, because there's a lot of competition where you can build a lot cheaper services compared to the cloud. So I think the next logical step for them would be to start bundling these services like they used to do with everything else. And this way they can really raise the usage.
One important thing to add, because I just want to make sure that you're not too much excited that you go to build open source solutions. Keep in mind that when Nikki said it's cheaper, it may be cheaper for people that know what they're doing, but actually one of the main beauty of the cloud is that, and not only for AI, for general services is that you have everything prepared for you. And in order to build the same thing with open source services, you need to put a lot of knowledge and a lot of effort for that. And nowadays, as some people are joking, we are in the, let's say, Cold War time for the AI talents. So keep in mind that this may become a bit expensive at the end. We can do one of our favorite services, especially Niki's one, is AI search. So there were tons of enhancement there. We agreed that we're not going to spend much time today, but we'll have definitely a separate session around this next year. But indeed, the investment of making all of these services much better, much cheaper, and much more efficient. It's again, the main goal is lower the barrier of the adoption, make convince people that this is something that they can use and will not break the bank, and actually it's easy to use. I can give example with just with the latest AI search improvements. You can achieve like 80-90% better price performance efficiency, let's say that way. Right, again, analytics.
Yeah, analytics was brought into Copilot Studio. I've been using this for a while. I mean, since it was rebranded, I think it was more than one Ignite ago, it became Copilot Studio, but analytics was lacking, and now they have better visualization, especially when it comes to the usage. If you publish your own Copilot Studio bot somewhere, you just don't know how much it's being used. You have to download Excel spreadsheets or CSV files. You have to interpret the data inside of it. Now you have a much more usable analytics portal. So, like I said, they're making gradual steps and making things easier. Azure AI Search, for sure. We're going to talk about this more and more. Um,
Yeah,
and it's becoming more of a,
yeah.
I mean, RAG is an interesting topic overall, not only because of Azure AI Search, but in general. Really need to make a session on RAG on the enterprise level because we
Yeah.
have a bunch of experience with this already.
So not surprised that there's so much effort in making AI search so efficient, as this is, as you know, one of the major use case for not only watch organization, but almost everybody. And one of the, let's say, easiest way to consume AI services with your data, let's say that way. So yeah, SDKs everywhere, huh?
Everywhere. Yeah, I mean, integrating this into websites, creating your agents in the Microsoft platform, but pushing them out elsewhere, which is something that people have requested for a while. So they have announced this SDK. So a lot more integrations with code overall. I mean, everybody has been empowered to become a developer, and pointing an AI model and helping you out do an integration is not that difficult anymore. So really exciting times when it comes to developing overall. I would like to see what is the future of low-code platforms in the era of AI. It's going to be interesting. I think Copilot Studio is just an intermediary step somewhere because we'll probably end up with something different. And we saw a demo of this live, which is creating an agent that uses the new Gen AI capabilities when it comes to real-time audio, which makes it great for these sort of applications where you have, service desks and IVRs and being able to talk to a really natural voice on the other end with no latency opens up the way you interact with AI models. So
Yeah. One important note to mention here is keep in mind that this service is still not that cheap as, let's say, for all, and you have to be aware of the quotas, etc., in order to be prepared before start using it. But it's outstanding. We saw a lot of demos even before Ignite with third-party open source services, direct use from OpenAI. It's amazing stuff. Yep.
Yeah, and this is pretty much known about local platforms. Return on investment is good because you can basically give it to every person in the organization and they can start using it. Time to market, things that are usually a pain point in the organization, can be solved with Copilot Studio. It's still clunky in a way. It still needs refreshing and more work, but it's definitely a lot better than it was before. I remember the Power Virtual Agents days where almost nobody was doing anything there.
You can have a look at this summarization of the team's capabilities. As you see, there's a lot. There are a lot. You can take a screenshot and follow the link in order to see all of them. But again, tons of very nice stuff, which we can't wait to try.
Yeah, especially the AI powered things.
Yeah, indeed.
We like Teams very much. Have been using it for the last 6, 7 years now. So I know there are a lot of people who don't like Teams, but essentially Teams has become a standard in communication in the
Indeed.
enterprise. So yeah. Anyway,
There are a lot of people who do not like also the Office in general, Excel, Word, but
that's Microsoft's bias, more or less.
Yeah, too much. So moving forward, to not spend time here.
Copilot, let's quickly go just through the points here. Microsoft 365 Copilot, the biggest selling product when it comes to AI from Microsoft. As we remember, we opened up with how many organizations are already using Copilot. And this is the easiest way to start using AI by far. I mean, companies are looking for it. It's still expensive. The $30 per month is still a lot, and you have to make sure your employees actually understand what they're doing. But this has become so tightly integrated with the tools, you don't have to know too much. I mean, you just type what you want to have on the screen, and then the AI starts magically shaping it up in front of you. So things like Excel and Word and PowerPoint and the co-pilots inside of GitHub and others have become very popular. We are being asked a lot now about M365 Copilot or Microsoft Copilot, how to integrate this, how to use it. So this is this will only grow because in general people don't understand AI, and frankly they don't want to understand it. They just want things to work. So this is the easiest way to get into AI by a mile.
Yeah. Remember what I mentioned just before about the excitement of cheaper open source solutions. By the way, we are not saying that open source is not good or whatever. Just it's very good. We're playing a lot with the open source. We are using open source models and solutions in general. Even the large organizations, the Fortune 500 organization usually are combining both closed source and open source. It's amazing. It just the effort put it from the Microsoft in this case in order to make everything prepared and easy to use. It's huge. You saw the OpenAI and their focus really to create, for example, focusing on the audio part of the ability not just to chat with the model but to communicate is again really just to make easy to adopt, easy to consume. That's the main focus. We already saw it with the SDKs, with all the effort put it from all of this announcement that we're talking
The
about.
interface actually, if you think about it right now, the interface for using AI makes up about probably 70% of the experience. If you have a bad interface, people won't use your service. That's pretty much it. So the better you integrate the models, ChatGPT has spent so much money and effort to create their chat application, which uses the same models as Azure AI. But everybody likes ChatGPT, and not a lot of people actually like the custom-built chat application. So the UI is super important for for propagating the use of general just the
this would be a longer discussion, but there is some shifting between the actual interface that we are going to use for the AI. Some people said that it would be through the voice. You saw the bet from Meta, which is on the glasses. So I'm sure that we'll see a lot of changes, but definitely this is the most important. It's like video session or podcast with the bad audio quality. You don't want to listen to it, right? It may be very good, but yeah, it's better to move on and waiting for another video. Let's say that way.
People are impatient.
Yeah, the times are different. Again, we talk about the purview. Definitely, we plan to put some more, let's say, whites on it. It's one of actually the main governance tool, security governance tool, which Microsoft is investing in terms of have good, let's say, control without sacrificing the speed of the adoption of AI services. So as you see in this diagram, we can see all the different major domains which are using actually Purview provides in order for us to have, let's say, visibility, security, and good governance of the actually our Copilot usage. Again, if you remember with what we mentioned earlier, one of the major questions which start with when we discussed about the AI is around how we can protect our data, how we can make sure that these AI services are not leaking our data. This was a huge problem from starting from last year.
I don't know if this slide actually is presenting the new feature about the data security posture management, which is giving all that signals, or it is consolidating all the signals about data, where it exists, how it is hosted, who is accessing it, where it is moved. So with the new feature, data security posture management, they are actually extending the governance and the security about data. It's integrated in Purview. It's not integrated with Defender for Cloud, but probably because of something I will probably mention later, how Microsoft is now going. Actually, they already built a common portal where all those security products will provide context and enrich and correlate all the signals collected by their security products.
It's Microsoft have a big, let's say, expertise in this field. You know that in the last several years, few years, they become de facto a leader in everything related to security and data. And they put a lot of effort in that direction because, as Nikki missed to mention this time, there were how many SharePoint sites created each day?
2
billions?
Yeah.
So you can so you can imagine of the need of appropriate services to manage that. Indeed,
and the thing is that the data does not remains in your premise. It moves everywhere, and this is why it's very important to have that capabilities to know how and who is using the data, where it was moved, how it is used. So yeah, it's a must-have thing. They're even late with that, but I see that it comes with everything needed now. So a lot of functionalities.
The problem, don't you, is because this field is developing too fast, and it's hard to catch with everything to catch up, and this requires a lot of effort for sure, in order to have all of this functionality, in order to prevent, people of this, like we see here, some the causes of oversharing in SharePoint, and the ability to identify all this risk regarding the AI usage. But yeah, now everything now is in public preview, so you can expect next year to have more insights here. Hopefully, um, our colleague here with a strong focus on security will also share his experience with the clients.
Yeah, I think we need more expertise on the purview side.
Yeah,
There's not a lot of experts who actually have enough experience, and this will be a very big need with AI, being able to track the information down. And when prompts and other
yeah,
AI related data gets ingested here, you need to be able to create the associated policies and just work safeguard the information. So I think more and more experts around purview will be needed going
yeah.
forward. We'll see. Hopefully there will be
Uh,
more.
I- Again, you can do this cheaper with open source tools. Yeah, I'm kidding. I mean, but yeah, of course, you can do a lot of stuff with open source tools. Please, I don't want to
Yeah.
misunderstand it. But yeah, it's again full-fledged tool. Definitely more session to come. Again, public preview for insider risk management of the and AI usage detection, the DOP policies, and how we can make sure that our data is not leaked. Also, Microsoft, these controls are also shown in this prevention in Microsoft 365 Copilot. There's some screenshot here as well.
Yeah.
All of these.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's what one of the selling points for Copilot is because when you introduce a system that can look into what you have access to, it can uncover a lot of permission issues. And what Microsoft did was, okay, let's make sure that we respect all of the governance features that are sitting on top of the files. For instance, if you have SharePoint libraries, you need to be and you're safeguarding them with sensitivity labels or tagging them in a specific manner. Copilot needs to respect that and needs to interpret the information as it is. So that's why it's hard to. We were talking to one of the main people around Azure AI Search, and he said that this is one of the reasons why it's so difficult to implement
Yeah.
systems like SharePoint, because we have so many layers on top of the actual database with the data that makes up for the governance. And if you want to extract this information and put it into AI search, you either
Yeah.
have to skip all of these layers, which sacrifices the security, or you have to be it becomes a very difficult task just from an integration perspective. So it's great that the Copilot does this, because if you are a big company and you put a lot of work into creating your data strategy and privacy controls, and you somebody just buys in and gets Copilot and shows all of the files, it doesn't make sense. So yeah,
Yeah.
it's great.
Again, the all of these compliance and security, it's bringing a little bit more challenges from technical perspective. So in order this to in order to make this work, because as Nikki mentioned, the issues are not that technical related to make this happen, but in order to make this happen following all of this compliance stuff, etc., it's require more effort. Gen AI gateway capabilities in API management is one of our favorite topic. I'm sure Nikki can't wait to say a lot more here.
Yeah. So for APIM, we're excited about APIM because it has been reignited as a service ever since has become the standard in Azure for providing the access to endpoints and governing the access to Azure OpenAI in general. So they made some cool announcements about usability. They created a lot easier to manage interface for making up the policies, and it's a great tool to, it's part of a landing zone designed for Azure AI. So you probably have this in front of your services with managed identities and everything else that comes up with an Azure AI instance. So there's still some drawbacks, and we gave this feedback back to the product group so they know what to focus on next, because it's important. That's one of the good things about Ignite. You can really talk to the folks directly, and they can extract value out of this. Because it's funny, one of the PGs told us that they don't have a good way to get feedback from their customers, which was insane when we heard about it. But it just, there's a missing link between what you get to the account management team and how does it actually get to the product group. So the product group is really blind sometimes when they're making up their strategy and roadmap, what feature needs to be prioritized with and others, should be dropped. So we gave them some good feedback specifically on APIM when it comes to the Gen AI scenario. And hopefully we'll see this materialize, because APIM is a good product. It's very stable. It does what it says, and it's well integrated with Azure. It's a bit expensive, so that's one of the downsides, but it really depends where you want to go and how well you want to implement Gen AI. So
Yep. And yeah, it's time to move to the cloud and DevOps services. In general, this was some of the AI announcement that we decided to share with you. For more, you can point to the book of Ignite. There were a lot more. Okay, let's see if we have someone who has a lot of experience with Kubernetes apart from myself and Nikki Panchev.
Probably it's not me. So yeah, AKS Automatic is not a new feature. So it was progressively built by some other previously released functionalities like safeguards, policies for Kubernetes, which are applying some best practices that and monitoring and guiding. They can even guide developers to use some good development practices that will ensure the confidentiality, integrity, and availability of the data hosted on Kubernetes and the services. Yeah, those most of the features that consist and AKS Automatic is built of already existed. It's not something new. For me, it just consolidates all the best practices that will be normally part of your target architecture for Kubernetes, like using Azure Airbag for Kubernetes authorization, those kind of Gatekeeper Azure add-on for governance and posture management of your cluster, the guidelines which now with my customer we are going to implement for educational purposes. So even they might be very restrictive policies, we like to use them to notify developers when they are not following the best practices, so they can keep the cluster and services in a good state and resilient to any kind of behaviors, integration to Entra. So everything that you can think as a target architecture is built in AKS Automatic. So the nice thing is now with the other products like DevBox and DevBox environments all together with AKS Automatic and supported by some backend AI. I think I thought that I will be not using AI during this presentation, but yeah, there is some built-in logic behind and intelligence, which is driving you to integrate and deploy your new cluster integrated with the repositories, create new repositories. It can identify what actually application you like to host. It will build your Helm charts based on the what it discovered. It will detect what will fit best for your deployment, and at the end, you will have a production-ready cluster following all the best practices for Kubernetes with a new repository created, integrated with GitOps operator, detecting what application frameworks you're going to use, will create and generate the Helm charts for you, and will deploy that in a single batch. So it's
So not
amazing
bad,
how
huh?
fast you can go into the prototyping phase. Of course, if you have to use it for production purposes, even you have all that features and capabilities enabled, you still have to maintain them, you have to tweak them, you have to optimize them, and you have to feel comfortable to use them because you will face challenges and issues, and you cannot fully rely on the automated workflows behind AKS Automatic. Yeah, the configuration is fine, but yeah, the day two of operations will be challenging if you don't have any clue about all those things. Um, so
But
yeah, this is my view about AKS Automatic. Um,
super. But in general, again, with what we see some, let's say, focus of making the adoption and usage of the service easier, following the best practices in appropriate way. It's like the security defaults, let's say that way, huh?
yes, exactly. But again, yeah, you still have some optional capabilities, for example, service mesh. But if you enable service mesh, it will be a big bite for you if you don't have a clue about service mesh and how to tweak that
Yeah.
and optimize it.
Yep.
Yeah, and
It-
probably it will be not enterprise ready, because in order to become enterprise ready, it needs to follow a lot of customizations. Like just a simple example, the self-signed certificates for service mesh. Yeah, you cannot continue with that in a enterprise environment. You have to integrate it with some enterprise managed or trusted PKI infrastructure, so you can have a managed certificates.
Yeah, there were also some announcement about the easier onboarding of the app inside in the AKS. So remember, it was let's say a little bit pain in order to include this, especially in let's say non-Microsoft development frameworks like Java or Node.js. So
Yeah,
what?
I've used in the past the that open telemetry for Java, and it was really easy with just specifying additional parameters to your
Mm.
commands for running Java. And based on open telemetry, it was integrating to application insight and ingesting all the data. But yet the demos which I watched about that were moving the level of integration to your containerized services up
Uh,
to a level like you have a service mesh, because you are able to have that complete view of communication between the different components hosted in your application environments. What are the latencies? What are the connections between them? What are the traffic flows? How to detect behaviors and detect issues proactively. So yeah, the demo was amazing. There was something special which I cannot remember about the deployment of application insight as part of it, but yeah, definitely the telemetry and level of details that it pulls out from your application environment was amazing.
This was something which I think is also a long time waited. At least I can't wait to start using it in multiple of our clients. It's right now when you have these controls in, let's say, some of the compliance standards, you often see some, let's say, vulnerable images, and it takes some time in order to address them. So
yeah, this took my attention as well, and I had that as a note to explore it further because with that you can simply just replace one or append one additional layer to your image, so you can apply the patches and updates that you like to apply instead of rebuilding your entire image and application with the image. So yeah, it's really nice. It was previously, I think, released as if I'm not wrong, as a open source CNCF project, and now we see it integrated with ACR.
there was also a lot of talks about the confidential computing services. It's as we mentioned earlier in our in the beginning of our session. Microsoft have very good relationship with AMD, and you know that Mark Vasinovich is doing a lot of session in that matter in terms of confidential computing. So this partnership became, at the end, it's payoff. You can see that confidential computing become available for more and more services, and now it's in preview for AKS and powered by AMD. So with all of these pieces in place, now we can say that we have full, life cycle, close the entire life cycle in the data, like having data at rest, data in transit, and right now data in use,
Yeah.
because before this was possible only with some, let's say, I mean, right now we have all of these integrated directly in
And this comes actually with the innovation of and the new hardware capabilities they built in from tomorrow. And actually, I don't remember if he said, yeah, with the new servers that we're going to deploy will have that chip, but the new integrated HSM chip,
Indeed.
which will be directly built in servers. And this is how they will be able to achieve this confidential computing with all the servers. When it was initially announced, I was I've attended on Ignite, and I was really amazed. Still can see customers who are heavily using that, not just prototyping and testing, but yeah, I remember one very mature customer that said, yeah, there is nothing to assess. We have everything that you can think about security. The only thing I will tell you what we don't have yet, and that's confidential computing. So still enterprise organizations are struggling to um, adopt confidential computing. Probably there's such, but yeah, it's not a simple functionality that can be just enabled and used. It will require some planning and yeah, integration to code depending on the way you're using it.
But so two things. First of all, with this move, it's again much easier to use and adopt, right? When you have everything built in the hardware. Like,
Yes.
by the way, together with Nikki, we were able to see this HSM. It was like this big. It was pretty nice. Unfortunately, as I said, we weren't able to take one for
Yeah.
to show it. But yeah, it's definitely again focused on making security more easier to be adopted, because you said that it's challenging for the organization, and Microsoft also see that and trying to address it by
Remember,
making easy.
Mark said that with this HSM chip, basically every server in Azure becomes its own.
Evolved.
Yeah, yeah, it becomes a separate security barrier.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
no, indeed. In this slide, we can see this great collaboration between AMD and Microsoft. We see some of the new Epic CPUs, which allows, I think they're the best in class in terms of performance per dollar ratio. And I guess more and more organizations will start using it. We see the same for HPCs, AI and ML. We are big users and consumers. For some of our products are running mainly on AMD hardware. So we can share a lot of insights of the use of these. They are definitely much more uh, performant compare again price performance ratio. And of course, going back to our discussion about open source and closed source, there are some challenges in terms of let's say driver support, different let's say tools, etc. support. But in general, definitely AMD are here to stay, and
Mm.
I love this partnership with Microsoft, and um, now we see that actually we can start using it and benefit for our specific workloads. I mean,
Have
it's
you
great.
have you heard something about the OpenAI service whisper model,
Mhm.
where you can have a a virtual machine with the confidential computing enabled and GPU enabled. So you can have with some additional gateway services proxying the prompts, the prompts, and those prompts to be encrypted in flight, so they cannot be captured by any service in the way of the prompts.
It's
A little bit
called
of
confidential inferencing.
mm,
Yeah.
That's
Uh,
the
mm.
name of the service. Yeah. I mean, I don't even know where this is applicable to. Probably something super highly regulated.
mm, mm.
But
Of course.
um, I wonder why it was because it's speech to text, because you need to secure the speech part, the your voice from the data.
And still some data labeled in a specific way probably have to be protected, and this is why,
Uh,
for example, your salary, your, I don't know, some kind of
sensitive
uh,
data in general.
sensitive data have to be protected in that way.
Mm.
I smell more sessions in that direction, huh?
Yeah, it will be not cheap to evaluate these services. Confidential computing, as far as I remember, was not first. It's not available for the cheap virtual machines, and then in order to again to adopt that, will require some additional development and testing.
Yeah, there was also a lot of good stuff with Azure Migrate. I know that let's say there's a lot of people using this service. I'm also a big fan of it, using it in every, let's say, single migration, at least for evaluation, verification, etc. Not always for doing the heavy lifting, etc. stuff. But there were a lot of announcements again for Azure Migraine, and what I love mostly here from this functionality is actually the new TCO capabilities added, which they promise that they will be, let's say, more and more, let's say, rich, and will show you, provide you a little bit better visibility of what would be your spending, which again will help motivate and help people understand better the, let's say, the client customers to understand better potential migration to Azure, how it will looks like from let's say cost perspective. So yeah, it's something that we decided to include. Don't you anything that you would like to add here now that you
I didn't have
was using?
chance to look into this session. It was still not, the recording was still not ready when I tried. So yeah, I had that in my list and my backpack of sessions, but yeah, had time to see what are the announcements there.
We probably need to mention, before we go to the next one, probably need to mention the Azure local sort of rebranding and new term that they've announced. We saw it in a number of sessions.
Yeah.
Something new to remember now again.
Yeah, I noticed that it's the old name here on in the middle of the slide. So yeah, Azure Stack HCI rebranded to Azure Local, but yeah, it was treated like Azure Local because it was extending the innovation from the cloud to on-premise, just running and relying on the portability of services hosted on Kubernetes in Azure Stack HCI. So the supported services is expanding every day.
But remember, the times change, and in the past was hyper-converged infrastructure were more modern, and they were not like local. In the past, it was more easy to consume and understand. So that's maybe the reason. Okay. Yep. So moving to the next slide, where we saw that again some good announcement about the the great collaboration between Microsoft and Oracle. I know that don't have a lot of experience of doing these services. We had a lot of experience in the past where we usually when you start migrating Fortune 500 organization, it's always one of the biggest challenges is the Oracle Exadatas and how we're going to migrate them to the cloud as our application are using it. So during the years, there were huge improvements, and right now we can even run the Exadata services in the Azure data centers, which is definitely something which really simplified the overall experience and with 1 millisecond latency.
Yeah, this collaboration and this collaboration between Microsoft and Oracle started last year in September somewhere. This is when they announced this this server. It was slightly after Ignite, and I had the chance actually to participate in a program to get certified as a Oracle Cloud engineer or Azure certified engineer for Oracle Cloud or something like that. So, anyways, yeah, the nice thing is,
Congratulations.
yeah, it was almost a year ago, but yeah, Exadata hosted in Azure data centers. They started with just a few regions. I don't know, probably they announced many more regions. I was very close to their roadmap and how they were progressing with the new services because they started the first service that was available was a service where you have to rent a quarter of rack at minimum. And probably as we provided feedback and probably a lot more Oracle customers, they extended with autonomous database, which is actually a self-optimized, self-managed Oracle database running on Exadata hardware in Azure data center. It can be integrated with all the nice security industry standard features like integration to a private network, integration with all the observability monitoring, event management services in Azure. Now I see that it is now integrated with OpenAI, Power BI, that it can be interconnected with other services, probably like Kubernetes, Sentinel, Purview. So they extended and improved a lot of the functionalities. Yeah, almost less than a 1 millisecond latency. And actually, the core of this service is they're extending the control plane of Oracle Cloud in Azure Data Center to manage the hardware as it will be managed in the Oracle data centers. So this is why Oracle says that you get the exact same level and quality of service that you will have in Oracle Cloud, and you can build a lot of nice interesting functionalities between Oracle Cloud and Azure Data Center. For example, to use Oracle Cloud just for your recovery, or you can host. There was some other services called Azure Interconnect, where you can build multiple cloud solutions where you're hosting databases in Azure, not in Azure, in Oracle. And
this is, I think, what they started like 4 years ago. I think it was the right time when they started with this interconnect, and actually we've been using that at the beginning without this option.
Our use case to use multiple clouds was exactly because autonomous database was not available. So they were actively working to make this happen, and it's a great success because if you see in reality how autonomous is that database and how many scenarios you can build on top of that, and it comes on a very cheap price. It's amazing success, and now if in AWS there was a huge advantage in this area because they had such kind of managed Oracle database as a PaaS service, limited to 8 cores, I think. Now in Azure we have a similar service, and that advantage is not in place. And of course, you can integrate it with Golden Gate, with SDL to create those kind of BCDR, disaster recovery scenarios, and use the two clouds, and use Oracle Cloud for as a recovery location.
Remember, some people were predicting that Oracle will not going to exist much more, but actually their stocks are almost doubled for the last year. So
there's still a lot of applications which work well on Oracle, and they cannot work that well on PostgreSQL and MS SQL. So yeah, it's still a use case, definitely. But for the small customers, for a kind of independent software vendors that needs to build a kind of a managed services relying on Oracle database instead of renting a quarter of rack. You can now.
What you would say about this new network security perimeter service, which is in public preview? I know that.
I read the comments of some of my colleagues that it's pretty much a entire landing zone with that can replace an environment with Azure Firewall and so on and so on. I don't think. Probably it has its use case for small customers. It's pretty much a silo, isolated, which can be managed centrally from a unified kind of management plane. But still, if you want to have the level of integration and observability within it, and to integrate it in an enterprise environment, probably I didn't dig too much in the solution. But it's far from enterprise environment where you can have one or multiple levels of firewalls, microsegmentation, observability everywhere, governance, policies, misconfiguration monitoring, and so on.
Yeah, I also think it's definitely it's not comparable to the full-fledged solution, but it could be a good fit for, let's say, smaller organization use cases.
Prototyping, yeah.
Prototyping where
Sandbox
for
environments.
yeah, for organizations that don't want really to invest that much money in decentralized, let's say, part of the landing zone where you put all the bigger, let's say, and more mature services.
And definitely
Yeah.
it reduces the complexity if you have
Yeah.
to start and build entire landing zone or a secure environment. So like AKS Automate, it comes with some
Right.
pre-built nice and good practices. So you can have a kind of a production ready environment.
This is our service which I can start talking about it. We know that I mean, it's also long-awaited final confirmation from Microsoft that we have an IPAM, which this open source project which everybody was using, but not really like endorsed by Microsoft. Even it was managed by Microsoft employees. When we had multiple discussion, Microsoft always put this wall that unfortunately it's not official solution. You can get support, etc. So finally, we'll see appropriate, I hope appropriate and mature IPAM. At least they they had enough time to develop it, I hope, and we'll have the ability to not buying. I mean, to not have to leverage third-party solutions. Um, I don't know. Don't you would like to say some words
Yeah,
about
it's a
this?
long-awaited feature. I still remember my AWS colleagues asking, "You don't have IPAM in Azure?" Yeah, we didn't have IPAM solution. There was a community solution released just 1 or 2 years ago. I don't remember, but yeah, there was no built-in solution. It was a challenge also in the on-premise environment, but yeah. I don't know if what new was released about IPAM during Ignite, but yeah, it's nice that we now have a solution. I hope that there is a policy-based management and ways that you can build the governance on top of it, because it can become challenging if everyone can uncontrolled can pull data ranges from it. So yeah, I will be interested to look into the this feature.
Yep, agreed. And by the way, if you ask about the IPAM from AWS, guys, you can always ask them about the policies.
And security.
Yeah, so just a recap of some of the solutions regarding the networking. As we see on the top, on the right one, Network Copilot. I would be really interested to see how it's working. Very promising. What I heard about the demos is that when you have connectivity problems, you just use Copilot. Don't have to troubleshooting. The Copilot is troubleshooting for you. So even that some people may be skeptical, I'm sure that this is just the beginning, and at some point it will really automate a lot of the troubleshooting steps that we usually have to waste our time with. So yeah. There were also some announcement about the Bastion, the Bastion Premium, etc., etc. That and express route, unfortunately, we weren't able. There's at the same time there are multiple sessions going on, and you have to make a choice, trade-off choice. Even that we were not alone. We're trying to allocate ourselves to different sessions. There's still tons of sessions. This was something interesting. Um, don't you promise to mention about this unified portal?
Yeah, before that, there were some innovation, some new functionalities about Bastion, yeah, where now you can, there is a premium SKU in which you can record the sessions of developer. Yeah, you can record the sessions of users of Bastion, and there is a new free, I think, SKU called developer SKU, and this is why they say, yeah, just use Bastion because you can use it now for free. But this functionality, which you can see in systems like CyberArk, when you elevate to a high privileged accounts, and there is a requirement to record for auditing purposes the sessions, is now in place, and it's amazing. Another thing, but I don't remember what was the exact. I think DNSSEC is now available for the public DNS zones and private DNS zones. So you can avoid DNS poisoning kind of attacks. What else? Yeah, load balancing now can the internal load balancer now can cross between subscriptions, and you can have a kind of what was the name of it's quite late now, the functionality where you just remove gradually the states and the sessions from backends in to drain your nodes or backends from of the internal load balancer. In case you like to execute some kind of maintenance on those backends, and then you can gradually enable the sessions. Previously, yeah, I don't know if you have done that, but you had to do some magics in order to achieve it. It was crazy. With some scripts and automation, yeah, it was possible, but still there were risks to kill sessions, active sessions. What else? Yeah, in Windows Server, by the way, there was a lot of innovation. From nostalgic reasons, I just started with Windows Server 2025. And there are a lot of innovation in terms of SDN. So you can build and stretch L2, L3 kind of networks between different locations using SDN, which is amazing. You can build network security policies directly on and migrate those with the virtual machines. Things we were looking in 2012 probably, and they are now available. So it was great to see them.
There was an announcement. There was an announcement. I remember now for Windows Server 2025. You can share a GPU across multiple virtual machines.
Live migration of GPU enabled virtual machines. I watched the demo. Highly utilized virtual machines with a lot of GPU processing, live migration, which is also
amazing.
Great. Yeah.
Amazing stuff. Yeah, you see, Microsoft is betting everywhere, not only on the cloud, but there's a lot of customers using, this on their on-prem environment, and it will always would be the case.
SDN now does not require additional infrastructure to build the SDN, software-defined networking. It's built in the switches. Previously, you needed, I don't remember the name of those controllers, but you had to have at least 3 for redundancy and so on and so on. So it was really tricky to enable it and start using it. And also in the past, we struggled with a lot of problems. Probably they're not in place now. What else? Yeah, a lot of innovation in Active Directory. So the quotas are extended a lot. Some new signing and encryption capabilities. Yeah, Kerberos was is now available for non-domain machines for work group members, which is also interesting. Another interesting thing is hot patch that is now available for 2025 and also available for servers everywhere, hosted everywhere. They just have to be ARC enabled. And what else? Also, hot patch will be available. I'm looking to my notes. Will be available also for client operating systems, Windows 11 and 365. So, which is also.
I remember
nice.
how this started. It's like 3 years ago, 2022, I think, if I'm not mistaken. We start using it. It started with just the server core version of Azure editions of the Windows Server, but was, to be honest, pretty promising. So and yeah, they mentioned that they plan to expand this to more and more another edition. So seeing this just for 2 years, let's say almost with one of the leg in the Quant OSs, it's huge improvement. Very nice.
Yeah, when you said Windows 365, I remembered even on the keynote, there was an announcement about the hardware that they announced the thin client for the Windows 365.
Yeah, 365 link. So
Link.
I'm really excited about that because I want to get rid of any hardware at home. Just to think about, you can wear with you that tiny client everywhere. Just plug it to some equipment like keyboard or monitor, and you're good to go.
And what else? What else after the keyboard and monitor? What else you plug in?
That thin client.
And the network, right? And when there is no network,
network can be easily solved with mobile phones now. You can use them as routers. So I don't feel that as a problem because I already do that with laptops. Just I don't want to wear the battery and all that with me.
Danchu, by the way, you're making fun of Danchu, but Microsoft announced that they have, I don't know, tenfold increase of the request for Windows 365 images in Azure. So a lot more people are using VDIs.
Yeah, I'm not saying anything. I'm saying this because I especially went to see this device because on the announcement it really reminds me to the outstanding success of the Mac Mini, which is absolutely blown for this price. It's crazy, And at the same time, you have. I understand that these are different purposes, but it's like $350 for this device and $600 for very solid, let's say, Mac devices. It's
But these
I
are
think the
different.
price is. I know it's different, but again, the investment in both of this is totally different as well, and you receive different things for the money. So I think it's at least my let's say my comment would be that this should be cheaper. Let's say that way.
Yeah, from long time I just want to have my mobile phone used for these purposes and used as a thin client. There were some nice tries by HP in the past, but all they failed, I would say.
I think the Windows 365 solves a very particular problem with management of endpoints, and now with home offices everywhere. This is a way to actually fix all of the issues that you had with hardware because you control the operating system, you patch it, you deploy it, you manage it from everywhere. And if the person by default already has internet access, you don't care about anything. I mean, pretty much it's a free problem-free use of a desktop.
Exactly. It's a scenario I was thinking as well, that instead of the organization to give you a laptop, they can give you a thin client and you can connect from everywhere to the corporate environment. And there are a lot of different compensating controls that you can apply and manage even the traffic and everything. So
The question is why it's so expensive. You already get the money from the licenses, from the other stuff. It's just like very simple piece of hardware. I'm sure that this would be built. This can be built for, let's say, small fraction of the price.
Probably it's encrypting something, probably more than just a regular PC. I don't know. We didn't go to the sessions. There was sessions specifically for Link, but we just didn't have time for it. So I don't know, to be honest.
Regarding Azure networking, the biggest innovation I think is in Azure Boost, and the new highs of performance that they reach out to it. It's as you know, it's something that you have as part of your server architecture in Azure, and you offload storage network. And every server has more than, I think, 10 gigabits ports, not 10 gigabit, probably 100 gigabit ports. So 200 gigabits per server it should be. And yeah, you can reach out to a lot of IOPS, which even we don't have to comment. So the comparison was 3.8 million last year, and now 6.6 million of IOPS, 70% increase for 1 year. And I don't know if we have to discuss this because it's now not that much impressive. But the impressive thing is that they decreased, I think, three times the energy consumption to achieve and still achieve this more performant capabilities of servers. What else? Just like to be quick with the rest of the things. The Microsoft Security Exposure Management Portal, which is integrating with all the security products for asset management, SaaS security, the ESAM, identity security, email security, vulnerability management, everything. CSPM and it was generally announced as a generally available portal, which can now be used by all the different security roles from an organization, from security operations to CISO and some other management roles, who can dig into the insights of vulnerability threats, threat incidents. They can dig into the context, the attack paths, and all the correlations will be enriched from all these different security products. And at the end, the different security roles from the organization can complete their work. I mean, consolidating all the signals from everywhere will give you the most efficient and the most detailed overview about your posture and security posture, and also the risks that you have active in your organization. So it will probably integrate with not only XDR, CSPM, CVPP, but also the DSPM, the new data security posture management. So yeah, this portal will be really the way to go in future, and will probably remove all other portals, and Microsoft will consolidate everything in one. Because having so many portals is just making the things more complicated, and it's a risk to miss a key information with that.
It's separation of duty as well. It's there's different team responsible for different things, and
but they built that kind of governance and role-based access from CISO down to level 1 or junior security operations analysts to have a different perspective of the security posture depending on your role and function. But the idea is that everything is now consolidated and enriched with everything. So
it's like, how removing the enter functionality because large organizations have separate IAM teams. It's not like that's the which may not be interested at all in the let's say Azure portals and log into the Azure portals, which by the way brings some different challenges regarding the actual Azure admin interfaces and configuring conditional policies. But let's not going in that direction.
yeah.
Yeah. All right. So, anything else, gentlemen, or we're good for today?
Maybe we can just
I'm
scroll to the
looking.
pictures we took on Ignite.
So,
Nice.
so this person is well known in the AI and data world, and Nikki had a lot of insightful conversation with him. I'm not sure if he would like to share the
I have
actual
a
details.
few more things that took my attention for Kubernetes.
Okay.
So one of them where you can now delegate privileges to not only the container registry, but now to a specific repositories and images, which is nice. Another thing is that when you do a drain and actually when you upgrade your cluster, you can
I've heard about
label
this.
some nodes to keep their version until all a critical minimum of nodes are successfully updated to a specific version. So you don't kill your cluster. I think it was called undrainable node behavior. And something on which I was really excited. So previously, it was possible to integrate Azure DevOps with Azure DevOps CLI, also GitHub and GitLab to Defender for Cloud. So as part of your build and deploy process, when you execute vulnerability assessments, it was possible for Azure DevOps and Trivy, previously Terrascan, then it was replaced with Trivy. It was possible to ingest all that signals and telemetry to Defender, so you can have a view of your posture from build process to the deployed resources and to have a complete overview about your posture management. Now that CLI is available for any kind of CI/CD tools, and you can integrate with pretty much any pipeline. So it was announced that it will be released as a preview this week. I still cannot see it. I was able to take some screenshots. It is going to be called Microsoft Guardian CLI. So it's really a key piece as part of DevSecOps capabilities. And give me a second just to see. Yeah, I think this is it. So some announcements about policy restrictions of IMDS. So the nodes do not obtain the credentials of the nodes on which they're running. But yeah, something developers are struggling a lot, and it's a nice security capability. So what operating system capabilities can be presented from the worker nodes to containers, because they can be quite sensitive, and to malicious attacker can or intruder can hijack your worker nodes and then compromise the entire cluster. So now Microsoft is coming with a default seccomp profile, so you can secure, like with AKS Automate, your environment better. It's always a challenge to pre-tune those seccomp capabilities. And fully isolated cluster for Kubernetes. It was in preview, probably now it's now in GA, where you can have a cluster deployed in a full isolation without even any network access. And yeah, these are most of the things. There are a lot more, but yeah, I just scroll
Bit.
fast through
It's
them.
with this amount of sessions and announcement, I think we done pretty good job to fit in less than 2.5 hours. But yeah, so thank you. And just to show you some quick pictures here that we've been able to make to the Ignite. As we saw, this is Pablo Castro. Big kudos to the entire AI search team and in general Microsoft, but everybody that we've been talking was really humble, really, this person is corporate vice president and distinguished engineer. And as you see, you can speak with him. It's very well technically prepared. As I said, Nikki had very interesting conversation about some limitation, and these guys are living at the bleeding edge and trying to, let's say, again, this specific service, which is really covering the most famous use case in the AI usage among the large corporation. Anything that you would like to say, Nikki?
No, it was great. It was great. If you scroll to the others, I think we met a bunch of corporate vice presidents and PMs, and
Yeah.
this was a nice session about the AI agent service. Overall, this is the best part of Ignite. I think I posted this on LinkedIn as well, that um, the chance to meet these folks, because they are so isolated, they don't really, you cannot really get to them unless you go to these big events. And it's so refreshing to be around so many professionals and peoples with a lot of expertise that you can learn from. It's only a few days, but it's worth the time for sure. We were talking with Nikki that we would rather have no training for a couple of years or
Yeah.
5 years. I would not go to a training, but just to go to one time to Ignite. It's much.
No. We agree that we will have our team building at Ignite, please.
Yeah.
Yearly.
It's and I think for every professional that's kind of at our stage where we've been through so many things, it's really what gives you joy, from a professional perspective. That's really satisfying to go events like this.
It was your second Ignite, right?
Yes. I mean,
Yeah,
unfortunately, only the second.
I had the chance to be once there, and yeah, it's really
We
amazing
worked together, remember?
Yeah, we met. Yeah, we met there. Yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
next year is in San Francisco, so let's plan from now. Make sure all of us go, and we will share much more
Hold
insight. I
on.
mean,
We have some time until the next year.
And
But
the best thing is you can stay focused on all that information and innovation that's floating around. So and feel the passion of everyone. Of course, there are people who are just enjoying the parties there, but yeah, the most impressive thing is the
it's still a
innovation and the passion
marketing.
of everyone.
It's still a marketing event. People still try to sell you. I get calls now since we got back from Ignite. People started calling me because we swiped on their sessions. But regardless, it's worth the time, and it's
however,
expensive. it's very expensive to go there, especially since in the States. But it's you have to, like I said, if you're a professional and you really want to learn. And also, one last thing. If you don't go to Ignite and you just want to do the recordings and you just want to do this online, because we're so busy with work and everything, the chances of us reviewing the sessions at that scale, it's very minimal compared to when you go there and just be focused and you do your agenda. So,
Um,
yeah, it's
And
worth it.
and unfortunately, when you say that there's a lot of people calling you, it, it is not these people. Keep in mind.
Yeah, unfortunately,
Um,
no.
but yeah, I agree. Here we had a great session regarding the graph rack by one of the main person behind it, Purva. So, and really this was session which was not recorded. So one tip for Ignite, please try when you go there in person, check the sessions which are not recorded, go there. One unofficial tip, let's say, not commitment on this, is that even if you're not able to register for all the session, there is always a place for one more. We've been using a lot of the public transportation in our early days. This was a picture from the demo of about the agents. This was interactive. The left part is something that we've been using a lot, as we mentioned, for more than a year now. But the right part was the graphic one, was interactive, pretty nice. As Nikki mentioned, pretty impressive demo. Love it. Well done by the team. Here we had the opportunity to meet also to participate in some community forum, I think, or yeah, I think it's community forum session where uh, we talked about as you can imagine, Kubernetes and finally, not finally, there was the final picture. I'm sure that you know this person, and I know that don't you also have a picture? I'm sorry to not include it as well. We may put it like near to us, but again, really, really impressed by the Mark. Ridiculous expertise in a ridiculous amount of areas. I'm this person, and so let's say again, humble person. It's a yeah, I would say it's a honor to to have the chance to talk and be in person in his sessions. Nikki can share some funny stuff of what he mentioned about
We said this
doing
the
some
other day,
crazy
but
stuff in the airplane,
But
but
this was so touching. He was, in the midst of explaining what he was doing with confidential compute, and he was appointed so many different roles as a security
he was talking
governance
about the
person,
nuclear fusion, the
talking
investment.
about nuclear fusion and everything else. And there was a question from the audience because he was taking questions from people, and the guy asked him, um, "Do you still develop
Sys-internals.
internal
Yeah.
codes?" And he said, "Yeah, on the way back from home the other day in the flight, I just took out my laptop and I added a functionality in Zoom. What was it called? Zoom it, so you can capture. Uh, I don't remember. Capture something additionally from the screen." And he was like, with all of his roles, he still finds time and will and power to actually work on his tools that they're just community based. They're pretty
And
much free. He doesn't get anything from them. So you can really see at what stage of his life this guy is. It's
yeah,
just
it's and
completely different.
just to remind you, he's a CTO, right?
Yeah.
And after this conference, he mentioned that he will speak on the Rust conference because he's a big fan of Rust, and he's one of the. How he also said a pretty funny story about his influence in, switching operating system to Rust, etc., stuff. But yeah,
Yeah, really an inspiration, Mark.
really, really, really inspiration. Last one slide, I'm not sure why we put it here, but important part for you is that there are some new additions in the both cloud adoption framework and well-architected framework. More again, long-waited, but understandable why it was hard to be put it in place. So now we have some formal, let's say, documentation about adopting AI or make AI work following the best practices for our application and solutions. So definitely you can have a look and at this. And for question and answer, since you're looking this it's in recording because you weren't able to come live on our session, please make sure if you have any question, drop us a message in the comment, or you know where to reach us. You can find us Lizzie on LinkedIn, etc. And Nikki mentioned already that next one would be in San Francisco, but hopefully this time it would be even 4 of us there and streaming live. So yeah.
Hopefully. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Nacho, thank you so much for joining us today, and it was really insightful. And we'll catch you on the next one. Thank you.
Thank you, Ancho, and others.